Hey y'all, welcome to week 11 of Stay Classy and Choose Love. I'm excited for this week. I'm recording this on Sunday. I'll just be transparent compared to Monday because tomorrow I start my new job. Woo woo! It's time. Super excited for it. Definitely nervous. Definitely feel a lot of feels. Really excited. Nervous. Most nervous for the transition for my family and I. Nervous for what the schedule is going to look like compared to my teaching schedule. Just nervous, right? But for the most part, really excited. So excited to get into the nursing stuff. This week I have hospital orientation on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday are nursing things. So I will be so excited to tell you about how it goes next week for sure. But so anyways, I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon after church and all the things. And it's been an emotional week for me for lots of reasons that I think will come out over the next couple weeks. But I just wanted to make sure that I continued with this. This has really been so therapeutic for my heart and I think important. It's interesting because last week I feel like I started to get into some of the nitty-gritty of challenges that I've had, and I got the feedback at one point that I said a ton, and I got that before I went back and listened to it myself, and it's interesting because I did. I said a ton, and I've already heard myself say it a couple times today, and there's this piece where I have to remind myself how human and vulnerable this is for me. Although I have this strong calling to tell my story and share it with others, it is not necessarily something I'm completely comfortable doing. I often feel like some people have these really high expectations for me, and it's interesting because a lot of times in therapy it comes back to the idea that it's me that has really high expectations for myself, and yet there's times where I definitely feel like I have let people down by being human, which most of us can probably relate to that feeling. So there's just this part where I want to own the fact that I am not a trained public speaker. I will probably throw out a lot of ums today because today's content it's an emotional roller coaster, if I'm being totally honest, but it will be fun and challenging for me to talk about parts of it. And I just continue to pray for the wisdom and courage to do this. Yeah, and there it is. I just said it again. I'm going to be all over myself about it today. So bear with me. Be aware of that. I do want to kind of just talk a little bit because last week was the first week I got into some family dynamics for my core family that I grew up with. And I just want to talk about the fact that we all live in the same community, and our paths intertwine a ton. And I love my family. I am so incredibly thankful for my roots and for my parents and all the things that have shaped me into who I am. But I also can recognize that there were some challenging parts and some toxic patterns that I have worked really hard to try to break for me, to each their own. So there's this part as I continue to kind of talk about some of the challenging pieces with specific family members particularly. I just want to put forth this disclosure that I do genuinely believe I came from a great family. They are good people. They did the best they can. My parents particularly, I will get into some of the dynamics with my oldest sister particularly that have been really, really hard for me over many, many years, since high school. And yeah, there's parts of that lead into the messy years. So I just kind of want to say this because it's important for you also to know that this is all my perspective, right? Anytime something happens in any sort of relationship, there's always two perspectives to be considered. And I will work really hard to talk about it from my perspective and my experience, just because I do want to be respectful and I do love my family. They're good people, truly. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to say all that. And there's fear in my heart about this, for sure. I've done a ton of praying and reflection this week about how to tackle it. And then on top of that, just kind of got thrown another emotional burden this weekend. And so I'm feeling not strong today, feeling very vulnerable for sure. So anyways, just kind of wanted to say all that before I dive in to picking up the story of Jeremy and I finding out that we're pregnant. Which, gosh, I remember that day so well with the Skype phone call and him being so excited and sending me the flowers and all the things. So, we were pretty protective of announcing the pregnancy just because I think it had been challenging for us to get pregnant, and then there was fear about losing the pregnancy, which fortunately did not happen for us, but I know is common in fertility battles. And again, my heart just goes out to all of those people. So it was interesting because we told our core people, we told both of our families, which were very excited. It was a lot of fun on the Katzenberger side, particularly because I was the third one to get pregnant with a 2010 baby. So there are 3 boys that were all born that year. So that was really exciting on that side of the family. My oldest sister Molly had her 2 kids, and I knew that they were trying to get in. And so that, I told our family, because my theory had always been like, if we lost a pregnancy, who are the people we would want to know to support us, right? So they were all really excited. We told our closest friends. I also remember that within the first, that spring. So we found out in February that I remember it was Super Bowl weekend for whatever reason that I was pregnant. And then that spring, I feel like it was in March, we had Ranger Ball. There would be an annual Ranger Ball, and I had already had my dress, and the week before Ranger Ball, I went to try to go fit in my dress again, and it did not fit over my freshly pregnant breasts. So Katie Peebly was expecting her second baby, who was a boy, and so I remember she went shopping with me to try to find a new dress right away, and she was really pregnant. Wyatt was born in April and Everett was October, so we were about 6 months apart in our pregnancy, which makes a big deal in your size, right? So we went, but nobody knew I was pregnant at Ranger Ball. I think it started to come out a little bit at that point with the people, just because I wasn't drinking, so that made it pretty obvious. I do remember, though, a really kind of challenging, sweet moment in that early pregnancy where I came home from a nursing shift. At that point, I was managing the stroke program at my hospital. On my way home, I was craving some Zaxby's chicken tenders and picked up some, because I think Jeremy might have, I don't know. Jeremy wasn't home for dinner. He was out playing Army, doing whatever he does, and I stopped by for some Zaxby's in my pregnancy cravings, and ate my chicken tenders, and Jeremy came home late at night, but at about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night for me, I got violently ill, definitely got some food poisoning, violently vomiting every 45 minutes, every hour. And I remember Jeremy waking up, and he was supposed to go to work the next day, and he came over to say goodbye to me, and he looks at me. And I mean, I had been throwing up all night, not like pregnancy throw up, like food poisoning throw up. And, which is scary when you're early on in your pregnancy. Even the nurse in me knew that I would probably be okay. Babies can be really resilient, but they're also really fragile, right? And you start to get in your head, and it's terrifying. And I had thrown up so hard so Jeremy comes over to say goodbye to me that morning, and he leans over to me and goes to give me a kiss, and just makes this face of pure alarm, maybe disgust, maybe worry, all the things, right? And he just looks at me, and he goes, "What is wrong with your face?" And I'm like, "Man, I've been throwing up all night long. I don't know if you heard. I'm sure I'm not cute right now." And he's like, "No, Colleen, something's wrong with your face." And I stumbled into the bathroom to look in the mirror, and lo and behold, I had broken all of the blood vessels in my face, just red tiny dots, broken blood vessels. That is how hard I had vomited. So Jeremy was like, "I'm not going to work." And then he's like, "Well, I got to go in, but I'm coming right home." He was worried, which I was a pretty strong ranger wife at this point and could take care of myself. So this was uncommon that Jeremy would come home and take care of his sick wife. So he went into work and had to tell his squad leader, platoon leader, some leader at work, that he needed to come home and take care of me and explain that we were newly pregnant, and they let him, thank goodness, right? So he came home, and I mean, I was still throwing up, and then once it like was done with the upper GI, it was the lower GI, and I mean, it was so bad. I remember at one point we called my OB just to be like, hey, should we be worried? And they're like, really? I think it was like 72 hours. Your body can handle this. Keep trying to take in fluids, and if you can't eat. But I remember at one point just getting so lightheaded, I ate grapes. I figured out that throwing up grapes was not terrible coming back up. Just a little tip for anybody that might need it. It was disgusting. It was absolutely horrible. I could not eat chicken I had a true aversion to chicken for the rest of my pregnancy. Could not do it. Couldn't smell it. Couldn't cook it. None of the above. Luckily that went away after I delivered Everett. It is funny what your body can do during pregnancy though. So that was fun. But man, once we got through that first trimester, we were in full on baby prep mode. We were so excited. I was going through this week trying to pull some of the pictures for the Stay Classy and Choose Love Instagram page, and just so many good memories from this year. I think it was at our 16-week ultrasound. Our technician or sonographer was pretty sure that we were having a boy, but they didn't confirm it. And then we went back for a 20-week ultrasound, and lo and behold, confirmed we were having a boy. And Jeremy was so excited. I was excited. I think there's this part, I was just so excited to be pregnant. It's funny because Everett and I were actually talking about this week, because I think since I had taken Clomid, there was almost this part of me that was mentally ready to get pregnant with twins also. It was not twins. Honestly, I was slightly disappointed in the first ultrasound when there was only one baby, but God works in big ways, and I'm thankful it was just Everett. But it was great this time, and finding out we were having a boy. It was interesting because we also had a girl name picked out for years. Like since we had been dating, our girl name had been Evelyn May. We were going to call her Ava May, which I still just think is like the cutest name in the whole world. But we did not have a boy name, and we'd had a lot of boys born in both of our families, and so we struggled to come up with a boy name. And naming a kid is hard. I'm just throwing that out there. Like it's challenging. They have to live with that truly the rest of their lives, right? So Everett got his name from a cowboy movie, Appaloosa, with Christian Bale. It's not the Christian Bale character, it's the old cowboy in the wise one. His name is Everett. And I remember Jeremy and I were watching the movie one afternoon while I was pregnant, and Jeremy was like, Everett, I love that name. What a name. And then we looked it up. I was a big one on what's it mean? And it was strong like boar. And Jeremy was like, yeah. So lo and behold, we named him Everett, and James was a family name on both sides. And my big test for picking a baby name had been, how do you yell it, right? That's the mom of me. Everett James Katzenberg. Anyways, it was great. So we threw ourselves into it and picking out our registry and doing it was just great. Figuring out what we wanted the nursery to look like, just all the things. It was great. We also decided, so I was working full time, and I was trying to save enough PTO that I could take like a full 3 months off after Everett was born. And so we were not traveling as much. So I think we skipped one of the block leaves. We didn't go back to Kansas City, and instead we hosted like a mini family reunion for the Katzenbergers. I think it was around end of May, maybe Memorial Day weekend. We had all the Katzenbergers come and visit, and that was super fun. They threw me a little baby shower. It was great. And turned out to be really special because the following year, all the Katzenbergers would be coming together for Jeremy's funeral. So I was like going through all these pictures and just kind of like thinking about how much we really took advantage of our time together. It was special. It was really special. It was great. On the flip side of that, we were on the military side with Jeremy. we were very much, I mean, this was 2010. So we were in the height of the war on terror, and the war in Iraq. And we had had a number of years with 1st Battalion where we did not have any casualties. And then all of a sudden it was like things started happening. And by that, I mean, our boys were starting to get hurt and even killed. It was scary. It was really scary for us. It was like we had almost had this false sense of immortality for the Boys and Ranger Battalion, the first 3 or 4 deployments that they went on. And so when at the beginning of July, my point to this is I sent Jeremy off on his 7th deployment, about 6 months pregnant. So it was scary, and we actually did a photo shoot the night before he left, and I'll post them. I'll post some of those pictures for you. They're very sweet, and it was great. But then, you know, it was full, and Jeremy painted the nursery before he left. I remember that. He painted the nursery before he left. We had picked out like the key pieces, but I finished decorating it while he was gone, and we did like a beach surfer theme for Everett. It was pretty cute. It was based off like a Pottery Barn quilt set, and I was talking with Everett about this week because I had found like tiki torch masks that I hung up, and I remember Jeremy got home from that deployment. It was totally like, he's gonna have nightmares about these, and Everett swore he had nightmares. It was just really cute. It was great. So it was one of those like normalcy filled with this new excitement that we were going to get to be parents. We were just so excited, so over the top excited and ready for this. And we sent Jeremy off on the deployment, and it was going great. Like, everything was going really well. Katie, along with two of my really good work friends, Jessica, who I still see every year when I go to Tybee, I love her, and another friend, Angie, they were the ones that decided to host my baby shower beginning of August. And it was great because my sisters and my mom were going to come down. You know, I have 2 sisters, Molly and Bonnie, and my mom were going to come down for the baby shower, and I was really excited. The Katzbergers didn't necessarily come because they had all just been in town, so they decided to not, and it was just the women from my family. Again, I was still working full time, and I was working like a Monday through Friday type position, managing our stroke program at my old hospital. And it was, so again, I was conserving PTO. So Molly, my oldest sister, had decided that she was going to make it, she was going to come down and do the baby shower as like a family trip with her family. And I remember thinking this was not a great idea. So Molly got pregnant again shortly after I did, and then had a really terrible miscarriage. Second trimester miscarriage that was awful for her and really hard for her. And I just remember trying to be sensitive to the fact that coming to my baby shower might be a little emotionally challenging and daunting for her, and that she didn't need to do that. But she insisted she wanted to come and that it would be fine, and if they made it a family trip, it would be great. And I said, man, that's so kind of you. Really appreciate it. I just want to be, clear that I won't be able to take off any time outside of the weekend because I'm saving up the PTO for when Everett was born. And she's like, no, it's totally fine. So they come, and they come a couple days earlier than my mom and Bonnie came down, and it was fine. And then the day before the baby shower, I think it was a Friday because I think the baby shower was on a Saturday. The day before, I'm at work, and Katie Peefley calls me, and I don't answer it because I'm at work. And sometimes she would just call with funny stuff about Everett or something. And I like put it to voicemail, and she calls back right away. And I'm like, ooh, that's weird. So I go to answer it, and she says to me, well, I think I answered it, and I just was like, hey, is everything okay? And she goes, no, Will's been shot. I'm sorry, what? And she's like, Will just called me. They were wheeling him into surgery because he's been shot in the arm and he doesn't know if he's going to be able to keep his arm. And I just remember being like, I'll be right there. And I like call my mom and my sisters. I tell them, hey, I'm going to Katie's house. Will's been shot. Like, this is happening. And spent most of the day with Katie, just trying to figure out what she needed, how to support her, figure out what was going on with Will. Will ended up not losing his arm. Is great. We do joke sometimes, we call him Nemo, because he ended up with like 3 plates and like 48 screws in his arm. It was a long recovery. And if you remember the story of me finding out about Jeremy's death, that's a big reason why Will was home and not overseas. And also part of why Katie had gotten so involved in the care team and like how to support families in crisis like this was because she had just been through this. So I remember I picked up milkshakes and just went and sat with her and helped with her kids, because Wyatt was just a few months old. Addison was like 2. I just went to help, right? And I didn't come home until kind of later that evening. And this was over 15 years ago. So there's this part where memory and perspective is fuzzy. And I just want to admit that. And I feel like I came home to Molly's family and my mom and my sister Bonnie being at my house, which was fine. But they seemed irritated with me that I had taken the afternoon off to go be with Katie. And here's the thing. At this point, I was a salaried nurse. And so I didn't necessarily take time off to go be with Katie. Like, her husband had been shot in an overseas battle. Like, it was a rare occasion where I really needed to show up for her. And I kind of explained that and apologized to my family. And it felt like my mom and Bonnie got that, but Molly was really upset with me. And so then we were trying to figure out something that we could do all together. And I was like, well, I would love to go get a pedicure before the baby shower. And the nail salon was still open. So I was like, let's run up there and I'll go do that together. And Molly got super upset because her son and her husband couldn't do that with us. And she was here as a family vacation and we were just I was ignoring them. And this turned into one of, I will describe as a Montgomery tirade. This is a little bit of the volatile temper that we grew up with my dad. Of just, if they get upset, then it's yelling, it's talking about how terrible you are, like, how dare you not take time off for us, but you take time off for Katie, do we not matter to you? Like, just a lot of gaslighting and negative and like big and loud and like throwing things. And there was alcohol involved with Molly, like a lot. I remember actually being kind of concerned with how much was being consumed. And she had just gone through this really big tragic thing herself, right? And my family's coping mechanism had been alcohol, and I was really worried, and it was awful. And I reflect on it now, and our entire family dynamic at that point is to walk on eggshells around people like that. I was groomed growing up to, in those moments, be smaller so that I don't upset people. And it's taken me a long time to rewrite that verbiage in my head of I am not responsible for other people's emotions. I need to be kind and considerate, and I think about people that I care about, but I am never the cause of a tirade. Nobody is. I am the primary caregiver for me and my emotions, as everybody else is for them. And I find it unacceptable to treat people that you love in that manner. Bottom line. I didn't have this wisdom at this point, though. This is something that has taken me years of therapy and years of healing some of that inner trauma, and I'm still working on it, y'all, for sure. Definitely still working on it. But it was bad. And what I remember from this is that, because Molly threw a fit, my mom and Bonnie and I didn't go get our toes done. I feel like in today's world, I would have just went ahead and went because that's what I needed, right? And it was her choice to not join, but there was no solution that involved all of us doing something together. So it was just Molly throwing a fit. So what I remember is Bonnie and my mom and I literally hiding in my bathroom while Molly ran, she would clean. When Molly's really mad, she's a cleaner, which is great, but also throwing things and cleaning and slamming my laundry machines and just hiding from her. While we all painted our toes ourselves in the bathroom. It was awful. And then we wake up the next day and you just pretend you kind of go out in the kitchen to see if the tirade is done. And if it's done, great. Nothing more needs to be said. And so we all show up at my baby shower and pretend like nothing happened. And there's pictures from my baby shower that you would have never known. And it's interesting for me as I continue to dig into some of these and put the timeline truly together compared to just pieces of memories here and there, just how worried I had started to become for my family. But yet I have deep compassion for Molly, and her behaviors are very much learned from my father, who I also have deep compassion for my father and his temper. He had a rough go growing up too. And, this is part of it that my family would do also, is just my dad particularly is great at being well, this is the reason why I am who I am. Accept it, which means accept letting me treat you like this. And I've really had to learn that is not what I have to do. I can have really strong compassion and love for these people in my family without letting them treat me poorly. And I will continue to talk about this because it unfolds in really messy ways for a couple of years. Years it took me to really learn how to show up for these people and love them without sacrificing myself or my own integrity as a mom. So that was the baby shower. Katie, I remember telling Katie she didn't have to do the baby shower still. Will was in Germany for the surgeries, and I don't know that timeline super well anymore, but I remember she was like, I can't do anything else. What else am I going to do? So I was like, okay. But then it immediately after my baby shower, it kind of went into supporting and helping Katie. Will got transferred to Augusta for a while. He spent some time overseas before he was stable and moved to Augusta. And then it was just a lot of surgeries for him. It was wild. And I'm still growing a baby while my husband's overseas. And I remember Jeremy calling me when Will got shot, because they were in separate companies. So Will and Jeremy were not in the same place at that time. So Jeremy wasn't on the mission where Will got hurt or anything like that. But Jeremy called me and just was like, babe, are you okay? Is everything I think it shook Jeremy a little bit, right? I think he was realizing a little bit of his own immortality, right? So it was an emotional time. And, this was the beginning of August, and my due date was middle of October, October 15th or 16th, 15th, I think. But it just, you just keep going. And that was the big thing. As worried as I was about my husband, and I'm growing a baby and we're expanding our family, I just kept praying that whatever happened God would carry me through. And it was nice because at this point, battalion, my due date was right around the time that the boys were supposed to come home. And battalion was really good that if you had a due date or a baby or due or something like that, they would try to send you home a little bit early so that you could be there for the birth of your child. Because of their constant deployment rotation, it was really hard to family plan in a way that your husband could be home, right? So, yeah, it was crazy. So beginning of October, the body's just crazy. I was going in for my checkups, and at like 36, 37 weeks when they did their first check, I was told I was dilated 1 to 2 centimeters, and I was measuring big. And Jeremy had been like a 10-pound baby. So I was really nervous about how this delivery was going to go. And so I remember calling Jeremy after that first one being like, I've started to dilate, like this could happen any day. And he's like, oh boy. So they brought Jeremy home a couple weeks, like I think 2 weeks early, to try to make sure he would be there for my birth. And my plan had been to work up until I delivered, but then he got home, and we're in that whole excitement of him being home, and I just ended up being done at that point. I had like a moment where I thought I was in labor and I wasn't, and my boss was like, I think it's just time for you to be done. And I was like, I think you're probably right. So Jeremy and I got like a week and a half together because Everett, God bless his soul, he was so comfortable and happy in that belly of mine. He decided to not come out, and at 41 weeks, despite all of Jeremy and I's efforts, safe efforts, including off-roading in his truck at one point, eating a lot of eggplant parmesan, like any of the safe things that we could think of to induce that labor had failed. So we went ahead and induced, or I like to say evicted, Everett at 41 weeks. And it went great. And I will forever be thankful that Jeremy got to be there for the birth of Everett. I remember he was so supportive during the delivery. He was so funny. Jeremy was funny. And the piece though, like I remember when I got my epidural, my blood pressure dropped pretty dramatically. And so when that happened, Everett's heart rate decelled, which is scary and can buy you a C-section pretty quickly. And Jeremy was like shooting the shit with me. He looked over and I could feel it where I'm just that like paleness. And he's like, babe, you okay? And I was like, and luckily I had a fantastic nurse. And as I get ready to be a labor and delivery nurse, there is this piece of me that's like, I want to be like this woman was. And she got in there and she put me in Trendelenburg like as quickly as possible, and pushed those fluids, and I recovered quickly. But I just remember the look of panic on Jeremy's face when this happened, because we had talked. Our plan was, hey, if anything goes south with me, you stay with the baby always. The baby is your priority. I need to know this, because I will need to know that's who. My worry will be about the baby, and you being with the baby with Everett will help me. And just that pure panic on Jeremy's face. So when I had recovered from that a little bit, and we're still, I'm still delivering the baby. We're still in that active delivery. But Jeremy was just like, that was really scary. Like, he's like, this is hard watching you go through this, and I can't do a lot other than make you laugh. And I was like, I know, it's okay. And eventually, actually at 5:18 p.m., Everett was born. And one of my favorite stories to always tell about Jeremy and Everett will be, so before he left on that 7th deployment, I had recorded Jeremy reading, Oh, the Places You Will Go by Dr. Seuss, and I would play it in the car when I was driving to work, going home from work, just because there had been studies that babies recognize voices when they're in the womb, and he was going to hear my voice all the time, but it was important to me that he still knew Jeremy's. And so, I played that 2-3 times every day at least. And when Everett was born, he was put on my chest for skin to skin. So he did not cry a ton, actually. He had great coloring, APGARs were great. He was amazing, but he didn't cry a whole lot. And so he stayed on my chest for probably about an hour before they took him off to like really get him cleaned up and wrapped up and do all his vitals and stuff. And when they took him off, he starts to just scream bloody murder, like absolute bloody murder. And Jeremy looks at me and I was like, it's your time, like go. And it's just across the room. They're not taking Everett anywhere far, but I was like, go with him. And Everett is screaming. And then Jeremy just puts his 2 fingers in in Everett's hands. Jeremy puts his hands in Everett's hands and starts talking to him. And Everett immediately soothes, like immediately calms. And Jeremy turns with this giant grin on his face and says, he knows I'm his dad. He knows my voice. And I just remember being like, yeah, babe, you're his dad. He knows. Oh, it was such a beautiful moment. And I don't know that I've ever seen Jeremy as proud of me or filled with so much love and excitement as he was that night. He was so excited to be a dad. It was beautiful. Whew. Everett and I were talking about it this week. And I think sometimes the hardest piece for me when I think about Jeremy is how he was robbed of the opportunity to be a dad. Whew. And I will talk more about the beautiful time that we did get as a family of 3 before Jeremy left on that final deployment during the next podcast, because this has stirred too many emotions for me. You know, love is such a funny thing. When you love somebody so dearly, I think even when you let them go, whether it's you let them go to fight a war, you let them go because you break up, or you just let somebody you love go, or you let them go because they can't treat you well. I think of this with my family members. You don't ever stop loving them. You don't ever stop just wondering internally, could I have done anything different to keep this person in my life? It's always kind of in the back of your head. It's that constant battle. It's the conversation I have with God all the time. And I have to let him calm my soul often with that conversation. Often. Because it's not my plan. It's not my plan that I'm a part of. I am just a small piece of a giant universe that serves a big old God. And it's a lot to understand sometimes. And Everett is just, man, he is like such a beautiful combination of both Jeremy and I. It is, I was thinking about it this week because parenting, and I know I've talked about this before, it's so odd, right? Like your whole goal, like your whole life for like the first 5 to 10 years of parenting is all about your child in some ways. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully you maintain some of yourself in those years because it's so temporary, right? Then you've got to let them go. Let them be their own people in the world. And man, Everett is just turning into like this great combination of Jeremy and I. Kind, considerate heart like me, curious, funny, strong like his dad. Just this great kid. He's the best thing Jeremy ever gave me. The gift of motherhood. Ooh, sorry. Oh. I haven't always gotten it right as a mom, particularly an only parent, single mom, but I'm thankful for so much of it. And yeah, I think it'll be good. Sorry, I'm getting like crazy emotional on you. Oh, go hug your kids. And if you don't have your kids, go hug somebody else's kids, because I will tell you how thankful I am for the people that have poured into Everett over the years. I know part of what has made him such a great man is the other people that I have let love on him, whether it's aunts and uncles, scout dads, coaches, like teachers. So many great people, our church community have poured into Everett. So man, hug a kid today. Like, just do it. Man, and if you know a single parent out there, just, I don't know, give them grace. Give them grace. Whew. Okay. Wow. I think I need to go have a good cry. I think I need to go have a good cry and then get everything ready for my first day at my new job tomorrow. It's going to be really good. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to tell you about it next week. And I know that I'm going to be walking into that place tomorrow thinking about how I just need to stay classy and choose love for the next week. Have a good one, y'all.